Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of PKBinspire. I hope you had quite a good week and your day is going well. I wanted to do this quick video to share a little bit about the post that I made on LinkedIn. About maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I made a post on LinkedIn where I was commending Netflix for an amazing documentary series called Sprint. However, I also indirectly suggested that they could have taken the opportunity to highlight other athletes who were equally doing extremely well. In fact, my focus was on the African athletes like Ferdinand Omanyala, like Letsile Tebogo, and Talu. My contention was that here was someone like Ferdinand Omanyala who at one of the world championships got his visa to participate less than 48 hours. In fact, he got to the venue of the competition, I think 3 or 4 hours to the competition. And if you are able to go through, such an ordeal as an African athlete, just trying to get a visa to compete as the fastest man in Africa, I think Netflix could have actually thrown a bit more light on the grit, the perseverance, and the mental fortitude that it took Ferdinand Omanyala to actually compete. Another athlete that I highlighted was Letsile Tebogo, who now is the 200-meter world champion at the just Paris Olympic Games. So again, in watching the documentary, which is called Sprint, I observed that throughout the various competition, whether it was the 100 meters for the men or 200 meters for the men as well, Letsile Tebogo was always in the top 3, and not even 2 minutes B-roll on him, was given by Netflix. And I found this quite interesting because here is a young African who at the age of 19 was already shattering world records. And imagine if they had given him some screen time. What that means is that documentary series called Sprint on Netflix would probably get a lot more watch time, because then after winning the gold medal, people would want to know more about him. So I think this was a missed opportunity. But far from that, that is not the crux of this video, right? It got me thinking about, an adage that I have come across several times. I don't really know the origin of that adage, but essentially it says that until the lion learns to write, tales of the hunt would always glorify the hunter. And I find that this is a typical case, of the lion not learning how to write. In this case, if we as Africans don't create the platform, we don't create our own stories about our champions, no one else is going to do this for us. Imagine if Netflix was owned by an African. Do you think that a docu-series about sprinters and their achievements, their grit, their perseverance would exclude the Africans who are actually rising to the world stage? Like Talu. Talu has been to almost every world champion or Olympic. She's always, qualified with some of the highest times ever, but she was not given any opportunity to tell her story. So I was just thinking, imagine the number of Africans who have that rich story, whose stories were never featured in that Netflix documentary. I do also understand, of course, that there are some budget restrictions, but think about this. If we are talking about athletes and we are talking about what they have to go through in order to become world champions, and you have African athletes, in fact the fastest man in Africa, you have someone like Letsile Tebogo, or you have someone like Talu, who always make it to either the top 3 or even qualify for Olympics. I believe that like 5 minutes B-roll on them would have been enough, but you can't also blame Netflix. They have their audience, they have their priorities. My main focus is that we as Africans have to tell our stories. The fact that in most instances we are perceived as underdogs only goes to attest to the fact that we need platforms owned by Africans. We need stories that are narrated by Africans from the African perspective. So yeah, I actually really wanted to share this video with you all that I'm always reminded by that African proverb that until the lion learns to write, tales of the hunt would always glorify the hunter. Yeah, I thought I'll share these thoughts with you. So I'll catch you in the next episode of PKBinspire. Thank you, and bye-bye.
In my veins, I've been driving this train.